Hi and welcome to another update from Hillman Halt. It's been a while since I've done an update. Really the main reason is because not a great deal's actually happened. Although it's really been about fixing the bodges and mistakes that I've made so far. Let me run you through. My challenges started with the arrival of the Hornby P2, Prince of Wales 2007 steamer. I really like it. You might have seen my review on it. If not, I'll put a link into the top corner. But the challenge is, it's the size. It is a 282, which really challenges my layout for two reasons. Firstly, it's the length of this middle section of 8 wheels. That's very unforgiving on corners. But the other challenge I find is this front pony. It is really loose. Any slight track wobble or join, it sulks and it comes off and it derails. And it looks like the photograph I'm just posting in the corner here. So what did I have to do to help the P2 run? Let me talk you around the changes. The first issue I had was at the top of my incline. There was a slight levelling off which really caused the front pony to derail and then have all sorts of problems when it got further around the corner. I also had the same issue as it came down. There was a change in incline to the point where it's not doing it now because I fixed it. It was pivoting on the 2 wheels, which meant that the front wheels would actually come off and cause it to derail on the way down. In addition, it didn't like the circle of track here, even though these were standard radius 3 curves. I intentionally didn't use flexi-track for these. It didn't like it and it kept derailing. The next problem I had on the same incline were the joins here and here, where they weren't completely touching, so slight gaps in the rail, and as it came round the corner, the front pony would jump off. So a bit of a disaster on the entire heritage loop, to be honest. So what did I have to do to fix it? The first thing I had to do was replace this entire curve. Just do it again, including realignment of the height of that board to the left where it meets the rundown to make the angle less severe, even though it was only a couple of mil and didn't seem to worry with the Cura scale, and then replace all that track coming around again. One of the main learnings I had was actually to make sure that the curves and indeed the straights going down were soldered tightly together to ensure no gaps in the rails before I actually laid them and connected them to the rest of the track. That actually has really, really helped. It was then a question of doing the same on the other section. So what I did here was actually, starting from the top, I connected a whole load of flex track with every join being soldered together, like there and there. So I ended up with a 2 meter straight piece of track, and then starting at the top, I screwed it into place to make sure we have no movement, and then bent my flex track, my single 2 meter, 2.5 meter straight length of flex track, then bent that round until we got down to the bottom run. And the net of that is that where we actually have joins in the track, you'll now see that there are no gaps. And if I look at the next one, there are no gaps as well. Where is the next one? There it is, no gaps, which removes the problems that the P2 had around being very picky around gaps on anything other than completely straight track. Great, so that's the incline up and down fixed down that top section. All done, happy days, yeah? No. I then got derailments somewhere else. Let me show you where. As the P2 came around, this, again, standard, I think these are radius 3 curves, and then hit the points, it was being derailed. Why? Again, there was a slight gap on this join here, and also it didn't like the fact that this straight piece of track had a very slight kink in it, so it wasn't completely aligned when it hit the points, and that was causing the pony to derail. And as you can imagine, having a pony off track when you start to go through here is a recipe for disaster. So what did I have to do? Yeah, you guessed it. Relay this, join those to make them solid, relay that whole piece of track, and also redo this piece to line it up. Now that, touch wood, seems to have solved the problems on the heritage line for the P2. And if the P2 runs, everything runs. So I then thought to myself, okay, the heritage track is now fixed and sorted and runs beautifully, great. What happens if dare I run the P2 on my other track? I tried it, and guess what? Loads of derailments. Let me talk you through roughly what happened there. There were two main areas of derailment. One was around the points, and really around these ones here, which required a bit of track relay, and again slight kinks as it entered. And the other problem was the difference in height between these two baseboards, and there being a slight jump in the track that caused on the uphill, on the up track, the left one, to derail, and same on the down one as well. So I had to relay and re-heighten all those to be more level. The next problem was, surprise, surprise, joins entering and exiting the viaduct. So just to explain, this is the temporary viaduct piece. The two main lines, non-heritage lines, will actually be behind scenery in some sort of tunnel structure. So there was a problem entering and exiting where the ponies were jumping off both sides and derailing as it then entered curves. So I had to relay all that track and make sure that the heights were correct. The way I've been fixing the track height differences is using these legacy track work sleepers. Let me show you how they work. Gosh, isn't my track work awful? Every time I lay a new piece of track, I get better, because every one I do is a new opportunity to learn how to do it properly. So ignore that for a minute. But the point is, you put a couple of pieces under and then you solder the track to it. So you have the special bit, you screw that in, and that gives you the ability to then push the track down to where it needs to be, solder it to the metal on the base, and that keeps the track low. If that was not soldered, it would be a slight rise and then a drop here. So I managed to pull this down through soldering, through screwing that into the baseboard, and then pushing this down and soldering it, so now it is a completely smooth, same level transition. You'll see other people using these when they are having track going over baseboards that need to be disconnected for exhibition events. I use them to fix my bad track laying, and they're a great way of resolving problems that I have created myself. The next problem I tackled was my little 009 gauge. I had another problem. I mean, the 009 one is absolutely lethal when it comes to poor track laying, of which I am the master of. The problem I had was it was coming off on my corner every time. Let me show you. You can see where the old track bed was. It came across here, did a loop underneath here, and then came back down here. That was too tight. Even though when I did my Christmas layout, other videos up here somewhere, it had a similarly tight loop. However, going round, poor Linda was going around and derailing. So I've changed the angle and direction of the track, partly also to enable me to put some platforms in for the heritage. You'll see the old 009 route. So I've pulled it back. It then has a better angle. Oops, go the right way. It has a better angle to go underneath and a wider, broader curve. And then I'll have tunnel portals entering, exiting when I get around to doing that scenic. So that's now fixed, and that now, again, touching more pieces of large wood, goes through there. The last thing I want to do is have the scenics done and have a tunnel through there, and I can't get the bloomin' train back because it's derailed. And it's very temperamental. So that is now fixed. But there have been a few enhancements that have been done. It's not all been repairing. Let me show you the enhancements that have been added. Coming off the heritage loop, we now have a point here, which by the way is going to be a double slip, waiting for that to turn up, which then comes round to a terminus station for the heritage line, and a double slip will enable me to come off here and go into both platforms. The reason for the double slip is because I also have that then going back into the train shed here. And you'll see that's also shared with the 009. So by repositioning the track, I also added a couple of points on the 009. So we have one going off to a coach siding. It's too temperamental to run 4 coaches. And the second going off into the engine shed. So you'll see there a couple of points and the heritage loop point as well. And a quick note on the engine shed. There was another video I did, link up here somewhere, where I put lighting in it. I then connected lights again, as per my other video, and forgot to put the down converter in and put 12 volt through my 3 volt lights and blew them up. So I now need to refit those. I have new ones now, they've arrived. I need to fit those, but that's more errors to redo. Coming around to this section of the track, I had a couple of points leading to no track that were going to go to a helix to feed the fiddle yard underneath. I've decided for now just to put a reverse loop in and a couple of points, well, one point here to give me a couple of a couple of storage areas. I imagine I'll put some sort of industry there and sort of scenic that. So now you have the up line that can come on the left hand side, can come straight down, it can go around the loop and then come back through to the other line and go straight down. I need to work out how I fix that the other way around, but for now at least that gives me the ability to have traffic coming from, we spin around, from the dockyard, can then come up, join the up line, you can do a few loops of the track, it can then end up going around the reverse loop, and from the reverse loop it can then go straight back. So with that helix off the cards for a while, it makes sense to fill the gap that I had round this side where I had the 2 tracks coming out. In fact, you can still see where they start, going to a gap. So what I've done is fill that gap with the required piece of wood, and I'm now fitting a platform. So I have a piece of MDF to the right side, which I then wrapped with the brick edging, as you can see. And then I have some card, which I now have the top, which is slightly bigger for the overhang. And I just need to fit the edging now. I've also got some more, well, I changed the small runs of the yellow fencing for the pack that has several large runs. So I've sprayed those, they need to now be installed properly, and I have more fencing That will provide a barrier down here to the car park area. I've also got a few more lights, so this is not installed yet, but you can see here is a generator, which I think is rather sweet, and also not connected because it requires 12 volt, is a little car that actually has working tail lights and headlights. So I think that'll be fun to have in the car park. Most probably parked up next to the porter cabin by the police car. So there you go, there's a walk around what's happened in the last couple of months. Fixing, putting things I've done wrong right, trying to fix stuff that I've broken. So it feels like I haven't really gone that far forward, but I think really it's getting there. There's a lot of wiring to do now. You can see there are some point motors and more block detection pieces. I have to put those in for the new points that I've run you through today and for the reverse loop. That'll take some time. Once that is all done, I can then start working on more of the scenics and the substantial areas. I want to do that, where are we? That hill area over there. I think that'll make a big difference, but we're getting there. And just to prove that it does work now, here's a little shot of everything going around without derailing. Thanks for watching. See you all soon. Bye-bye.